Good morning. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of Water and Power Commissioners. Today is Tuesday, January 10th, 2023. This proceeding is being broadcast on Channel 35. The exact broadcast times can be found by contacting Channel 35. Board of Water and Power Commissioners, please say present for roll call. Commissioner KATZ. Present. Commissioner LEHRER.
Present.
President McCLAIN-HILL.
Present.
Commissioner NEEMAN-Brady.
Present.
Vice President Ruiz.
Present.
5 board members, a quorum is present. Madam President.
Thank you. First and foremost, Happy New Year to everyone present and tuning into this meeting on behalf of the Board of Water and Power Commissioners. I don't have significant opening remarks except to say that we are blessed with rain and very excited about it. I look forward to the General Manager's report and specifically hearing from our Assistant General Manager over the Water Division, and am very curious to hear and for the public to know that while we are benefiting from the great storm, notwithstanding all of the damage and destruction that's happening across the state, that this does underscore the need for Operation Next and for us to increase our capacity to capture and reuse stormwater. We have a long way to go to get out of this drought, and I suspect that we are in for increasing periods of long dry spells, coupled with these intense periods of precipitation, and adjusting as a society to what that means and what we have to do in order to continue to live and thrive in this desert that we call home is the challenge of our lifetime. So with that, are there any on this first meeting of 2023 comments from any commissioner before we get started? Then I think we're good to go. Are there general public comments?
Madam President, there are no public comments. Public comment is now closed.
Terrific. Then the report by the General Manager.
Thank you very much, and Happy New Year to everybody. It's great to be here, and it's great to celebrate the what would seem to be inclement weather, but the good news inclement weather. So on that note, and following your comments, it is great that we have so much rain here. And you mentioned stormwater capture, and that is watching the water run off the streets and down the LA River and the other storm channels is one of the biggest challenges we have in terms of, making the best use we can of local water when it's available and how to capture more of that. And certainly, the city was supportive of Measure W, which has started to deliver stormwater capture projects. We're hoping that, as well as our own plans, even outside of Measure W, will continue to reap a lot of beneficial fruit in terms of getting stormwater back in the ground, particularly in the San Fernando Valley, where the city has water rights and massive cleanup projects that'll make all that water be usable. And then those projects are on the cusp of being delivered. So hopefully we'll have a happy collision of good things, of projects being completed to clean up the groundwater and then more groundwater capture from storms like this. But I will turn it over to Anselmo to tell us about the good news and where we stand and what this rain down here and the snow up north means for us and for the future. Go ahead, Anselmo.
Absolutely. Thank you, and good morning, commissioners. And first of all, yes, we are still in a drought. And I think that's something we need to make sure is really clear to all the folks watching, that we're still in a drought. Despite the fact that we've had some really significant storms the last couple of weeks, starting actually back in December, we continue to be in this drought. Now, I believe at the last board meeting, I mentioned that the Department of Water Resources had provided their initial allocation from the State Water Project, and it was 5%. That's still the case. That has not changed yet. They have not provided an updated number there. But also, DWR recently completed their first snow survey of the year. It was done back on January 3rd. And at that time, that survey indicated that they were around 177% of average for that location at that time. So that's great. I believe that number is actually increased to over 200% now for the date. But for compared to April 1st, that's around 72%. So what it tells you is that these storms have made a significant impact on the snowpack and the potential water supply for the region. But as I think I mentioned in several meetings in the past, what we've been told is for us to be out of a drought, it would take several years of above normal precipitation for us to go back to normal. So this is really encouraging, but we're not there yet. And I want to just kind of highlight and reiterate that point because I think it's important to know that. In the Eastern Sierra specifically, which is where the LA Aqueduct gets its water from, we, as of yesterday, we believe that we're about 96% of normal as of April 1st. So that's extremely good news. And I keep saying April 1st because that's when you take the snapshot and say, that's going to tell you what your water year is going to look like, basically. So that tells you that we are pretty close to April 1st already, and we continue to get snowpack up in the Sierras. Along the Colorado River, despite having a really good start, the large reservoirs there, Lake Mead and Lake Powell, continue to only be around a quarter filled, so 25% fill. Locally, we talked about what it means to us here locally, stormwater capture-wise. We've been able to capture since October 1st of 2022, when the runoff year starts, we've captured over 31,000 acre-feet of water. So that is pretty significant. I actually had the pleasure last Friday to be taking a flight over, and I saw Tujunga spreading grounds, and you could see the basin completely full. One of the brand new large basins that we made an investment with the county in repurposing that area and rechanging it. And it's nice to see that it was working in a really fantastic way. Our customers continue to conserve, which is great. This past December, we saw like a 16% reduction in consumption compared to 2020. Obviously, much of that was aided by the fact that we started getting some pretty significant precipitation. But that's just a continuation of the good work that Angelenos have been doing in conserving their water. Also, the last board meeting, I mentioned that we were considering putting a pause on the residential recycled water program. And we have. And we've done that only for this period of time in the winter. We're going to reevaluate our needs. And if we are once again in another drought year, this year coming, and we'll know more about it by April, we'll reinstitute the recycled water program. And this is the program where customers can go to 3 locations that we have in the city, and they can get recycled water for free and use it for irrigation of their plants. So we just put a pause in it. It's not canceled. It's just a pause to allow us to be able to focus on other areas. And honestly, we saw a dip in demand during the colder season, which makes sense. So, but we're going to be looking at that. The good thing about the program is that we saw a 10-fold increase in the amount of water that we delivered. It was around 150,000 acre-feet of water 150,000 gallons, I should say, of recycled water that was provided to the customers that went to these locations. So we're only a third of the way into the wet season. And, once again, I just want to make sure that people recognize that although things look really good, we're still in a drought, and we still need to be conserving. This is a great time also for our customers who are looking to change their lawn to drought-tolerant material to do so. This is the time of the year to do it. I'm sure Commissioner LEHRER can probably talk more about the right time of the year to plant, but this is when you want to be doing that. So they should be taking advantage of our turf removal program, where we offer $5 per square foot. And that's the end of my report. Thanks, Marty.
Thanks, Anselmo. Now I'd like to turn over to someone who's probably not as happy about the rain as Anselmo is. Although his crews have done a remarkable job of keeping our customers in power. So I'd like to turn over to Brian Wilbur and his folks to talk about how we're doing in the power system during the rain. And then they also would like to present a little follow-up on been some questions about the helicopters that we purchased last board meeting we approved, and they want to just answer a couple questions for board members who've been curious about that. So,
yeah, I'd like to introduce. So we have Walter Rodriguez. He's our director for power transmission and distribution. So it's his crews that you see out there in the rain for the past few weeks. And Thomas Patzloff, and he's the director for fleet and aviation services. So for a quick update of how we've been doing. Walter.
So good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year. So first off, I'll start out by saying thank you, Marty, for giving accolades to our crews. They did a phenomenal job. And what we've been doing with these storms as they hit us, we get the forecast and we stage crews, extra crews to be on hand so that we could preemptively attack these outages before they get out of control. And I can tell you the storm that hit us last week, it started on the 4th and it ended on the 7th. We never went above 10,000 customers out at one time, which normally in past events, we've had double that amount for that type of event. So, it's a testament to our crews for one and having them on hand and what we're doing to harden our system. So we're very pleased with that. Most of the outages were due equipment failure, whether it be in the underground or the overhead, mainly in the underground, and trees, of course. So those are mostly our problems that we have all the time in these types of events. So like I said, we did well, our crews did well, and they worked around the clock. So this current event, it's a little more intense than last week's. We are currently at about 15,000 out, and it's the same. It's mainly trees again, and a few equipment issues that we're having, area outages. So we have about all of our crews right now are working trouble, and we have some more staged to come in around the clock. So we're hoping to keep those numbers down to a manageable amount. And we're expecting the rain event to move through by noon. So.
And so, Walter, those
Yes.
are good numbers, but in terms of, do we have data on what length of time the power is out?
95% of those were restored within 24 hours. So we don't have anything that exceeded 24 hours. So one or two, maybe a knockoff a single customer, but that's it. Area outages, we normally attack those first thing. That's why we have extra crews come on so that our patrolmen can go out and chase the grounds, is what we call them, our trouble, locate the trouble and repair that right away so that they get the large areas back on in a timely fashion.
And Walter,
Yes.
What about repeat? Do you keep track of repeat outages? And the reason why I ask is I saw on some social feeds people complaining that, they're out again, they're out
Right.
again.
We do track those, and normally it's either a tree, an area that has lots of trees or vegetation, or it can be an underground area where we do have the underground system. Even though it's pleasant to the eye, it has lots of problems. So once you get a rain event like this, if you could imagine our structures filling with water and nothing is 100% watertight. So eventually you're going to start getting failures over the years, right? Or you get corrosion, or you get whatever it may be. So you're going to have some problems. But we've been addressing them. We contact engineering, whether it be equipment or splices or whatever it may be. We do have discussions with them to track
About
them and make
ones that
repairs.
are-
Yes,
that are repeated.
yes.
And then with the outages, do people report them, or can we tell proactively with our system where the outages are?
So but we depend mainly on people reporting them, but we can tell when we have a large area outage, right? So it's like the single customers or small neighborhoods where they need to report them so that we can go out and promptly address those. So, and one thing that I will say is, and to leave everyone with, any downline, please stay away from. If you think there's a threat to life and our property, call 911. So,
Thank you.
And on that front, I would say, if you're not sure, call 911.
right.
And also, I just want to again, to compliment and to recognize the work of our crews that in these times when everyone is trying to stay indoors and trying to stay warm and to avoid the inclement weather,
Right.
they're actually on call
Right.
and out and doing the job that's required to keep lights on. I also just want to commend the fact that they're not only doing the work, but they're doing the work and they're staying safe, which is a tremendous priority for this department. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. And we'll pass that on.
Thank
Certainly
you
will.
very much.
Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, or morning, I guess it still is.
Just tell me, our helicopters are not.
It's not-
You're thinking about last time.
Yeah, exactly.
Our helicopters are down though, right?
Helicopters, yeah. Helicopters are, I guess, the subject right now. At the last board meeting, this very board approved the purchase of 2 brand-new Bell 429s. And today we kind of wanted to follow up a little bit with what we're going to be using them for and just kind of give you guys a brief overview of the program. Right now, what we do with our helicopters, we do a lot of security flights, we do emergency response, passenger transport, and we have started HEC aqueduct patrols, and human external cargo program, which is something that we've talked about to this board in the past. And Walter's going to give a little bit more information in a video on that. And, you know, where are we going for the future on this? This is a picture of a 429. This is obviously not ours. It's a little bit, it's still a light duty helicopter. It has about 1,000 pounds more lifting capacity, and it says 150 knots, which is right around 175 miles an hour. So they're faster. They're a twin engine design, and this is really the perfect piece of equipment that we need for our human external cargo program. And so it's the kind of the wave of the future. It's what Edison has gone to for their program. And also these new aircraft will be outfitted with the state-of-the-art technology. We'll have night vision goggle technology, so we can increase the amount of night security flights that we're doing. And also it will have instrument rating capability where in conditions like today where we had a problem at Castaic, I got a phone call that said, hey, can we fly in? We said no. These aircraft will be able to do that. If we've got to get people in and out of locations in limited visibility situations, we'll be able to do that going forward. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Walter.
So one thing before we move on is I think that what we're anxiously anticipating is the fact that these helicopters have twin engines. So when we're conducting the HEC program, if one engine fails, we could still safely land this craft. So our patrolmen are thrilled about that, you know, to feel that they're going to be safer in these helicopters. So go ahead.
We got a little video for you, we hope. With some music.
Oh, God.
just to make sure everyone gets a really good look at this last patrolman coming in.
So first of all, we'd like to acknowledge one of our star students from the last HEC class, Ms. McCLAIN-HILL.
Thank you, sir. That is a recruitment video. I thank you for the video and for capturing that last bit of footage. I know that we were a little delayed in securing these helicopters, and I understand it had something to do with our specific specifications and making sure that we have the kind of equipment that will allow our folks to both iterate and innovate in terms of how they are providing service to the department, but to do it safely. So I appreciate that. And I'm looking forward to making sure that we are adequately staffing and training. I know that this is a relatively new program.
Yes.
And it has proven itself to be invaluable. And so we've got a lot of things to do. There's always, a lot of programs, a lot of training, a lot of new ways of doing things. But like a number of areas in our systems, we have incredibly talented employees who expend a lot of their personal time, energy, and expertise in building out practices and systems that enable us to do our work better. And I want to underscore the degree to which this work is the result of that kind of dedication on the part of our staff, and to commend and to support our continued investment in it.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
And I would encourage commissioners to visit
We
the
invite you all.
helicopters.
Just let us know and we'll set it up.
They will take good care of you, although I'm very interested in getting into that other rig.
Yeah, once the Prop 5 passes, we can issue the purchase order, and we're looking at about 12 months. So as we get updates, we can certainly pass those along, but figure about this time next year. Hopefully they'll be here.
Well, thank you, and as always, Fleet is one of my favorite presenters, so thanks.
Well, thank you.
Great video.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
day.
I'd like to turn our attention to the Northern District real quickly. Anselmo wants to talk about a little bit about the flooding controls and work that the aqueduct group has done.
Yeah, so Commissioner, I neglected to mention earlier, we talked about all this water that we're getting, which is great, but that also comes at a price. And up in the Owens Valley, as a result of the storms, we got some significant flooding. And I wanted to take a chance to highlight the men and women of the aqueduct section and the water operations division, that they're not there just managing the aqueduct, but they also provide support to the local communities as well. Yesterday, Inyo County actually started their Unified Command Center to deal with the flooding. And our staff, department staff, helped in ensuring that the towns would not flood. And we did that in a couple of ways. One of the ways was unplugging any kind of culverts or drains that were plugged up, but also moving water around the city. We're able to push water away from, for example, the city of Bishop into areas that are west and allow us to spread that water. So not only are we protecting from flood, but also we're able to recharge the groundwater basin there. So we've been able to do that work. We also had a lot of challenges in protecting the aqueduct in areas where we were afraid that the aqueduct would be overtopped by the amount of water in it. And we have to have activities to move that water away. So my staff up there, up in the Owens Valley, under Adam Perez, did an great job in managing that. They were working out there till 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning today, just managing that. And this is something that every single time there's any kind of major storm events in the Owens Valley, LADWP staff is called to help assist in managing that. Even though we're not responsible for flood control, we do it because we're members of the community. So I just wanted to mention that and the great outstanding work that my staff does up there. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Anselmo. Also up north, I want to mention 3 of our employees who went above and beyond to rescue another utility crew. We had electric communication workers out of the Bishop office the supervisor, George Smart, received basically a Mayday call from an NV Energy crew that was working about 40 miles east of Bridgeport in the Sierra Nevadas. It's kind of in the vicinity of where the U.S. Marines have their mountain warfare training school they do in the snow. And the weather was in extremely bad condition. I think the winds were 50 to 70 miles an hour, next to zero visibility, single-digit temperatures. And so two of our members from the communication electricians group, Hoala Harris and Trevor Shannon, who had just recently received their updated Snowcat winter survival training, took the Snowcat into the Sierra Nevadas on the Nevada side. They did locate the NV Energy linemen. They found one or two of them were waist deep in snow in the late stages of hypothermia. Their vehicle was stuck. They were able to actually bring everybody down safely back down to the hill. So I want to thank them and recognize them for doing a great job on behalf of a sister agency. The NV Energy linemen were actually up there working on a microwave station that supports our the DC line coming from Bonneville. So they were doing work that also is, again, in partnership that we have, in terms of working the entire transmission system. So I'm very proud of them and the work they did, and for taking it upon themselves to go and find these guys in the dark and bring them back safely. Before the holidays, I wanted to note that we had our winter solstice sunrise ceremony, which I couldn't believe I actually was out of town for and missed. I apologize. But I understand we had about 250 folks there, and I know our Commission President and Vice President were there.
And
Commissioner KATZ was there, and I know that Councilmember John Lee, and we were very graced to have Mayor Bass there as well. One of her first events upon being mayor. So it was, we started this a year ago. We always had the Earth Day at Chatsworth. We wanted to do something to acknowledge the other season, so we did the sunrise there at Chatsworth. Commissioner Ruiz, did you want to make any comments about this? I know we had the tribal blessing by Rudy Ortega and the local tribe there. Do you have any comment about that you'd like to add?
No, I just want to say that it was a beautiful event, and I want to thank our staff for organizing it. And I think for me, being Native, we celebrate the season, so winter solstice is very important to us. And to have the mayor there and experience that, we were able to honor her with a tribute blanket. And it was just a very, very beautiful event, and I just want to thank everybody that participated, but most importantly, all our staff that worked tirelessly to put on that beautiful event. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to note that we did resume our holiday festivities both here and our district yards right before Christmas, that Friday before Christmas Eve. We had not had any really family activities for the past 2 years because of COVID. We took necessary precautions, and we left it up to the yards to determine what they wanted to do. We had really good family turnout, really good employee turnout. I think it was very meaningful for folks to be able to be back together and celebrate. And we've had, luckily, no outbreaks or any downside effects from having everyone together, because we did it in a safe way. And it was meaningful for our employees to be able to come back and help showcase their workplace to their families and people to see each other again on a bigger scale. Next Monday, we have the Martin Luther King Day Parade. It begins at 11 o'clock. And again, in coordinating with our NSBE chapter here at LADWP, we will be participating in the parade. Last year we participated. It was about 6 months off session. It was celebrated on Juneteenth because they had canceled the parade due to COVID. And so we participated, and we had a flatbed with the music playing and a number of our electric vehicles. But last year we realized we're going to step up our game this year. And so this year we'll have one of the large insulator wash trucks, much more impressive than Nissan Leafs, and we'll also have one of our F-150 Lightnings and our Ford all-electric Mustangs out there to showcase what electric vehicles ought to look like. And so we're going to have a number of employees. I think we have at least 30 or so that have already planned to participate in the event, and we plan to give away LED light bulbs and other things along the route. So we're very much looking forward to that this coming Monday. And then lastly, I'd like to, Julia Riley has a very important new person in her staff she'd like to introduce.
I'd like to introduce Ben Chapman, who is our new Assistant General Counsel, who comes to us from City Council, from City Hall. He did a lot of big cases over at City Hall, including protecting the DWP transfer to the City General Fund. So we're pleased to have him. And then also Nick Carno is joining our Water and Environment Group. So he's in the room too. So we're looking forward and hoping to add to the team.
Okay, great. Unless you had anything you wanted to add, then that's concluding my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I want to follow up on the comments made about the efforts of our employees in the Owens Valley and out in Mono Lake to support the community. I actually met on December 14th with Bob Garner, supervisor from Mono County. He came down to Los Angeles. We had a very, very good conversation. And among the things that he commented upon was the extraordinary work that the department does to support local issues and to step up during times of need. He was, very generous and also very grateful for the assistance of the department. I know that we are accustomed to headlines and reports suggesting that we are not the best neighbor or influence in that area of the state, but beg to differ. And do want to say to all of our employees both thank you, and the work that you do is well recognized both locally and here in Los Angeles. So thank you. And with that, we will move forward. Are there motions that will be introduced by, any pending motions to be introduced by commissioners at this point? No. Seeing none. Comments from ratepayer advocates?
No special comments today. If questions arise during consideration of the items, I may be able to add comments.
Thank you so very much. Appreciate that. Discussion with neighborhood councils.
One community impact statement was received from the Silver Lake Neighborhood Council. No representative from this neighborhood council is here to speak. This community impact statement has been published on LADWP.com for public record and was included in the commissioner's briefing materials.
Terrific. We are, there are no, I'm sorry, we're item H, items recommended for approval. I've been advised that item L2 is being called special. Are there any other items that commissioners would like to hear special before considering the agenda? Terrific. Is there a motion for approval of items L1 through L3, then L1, then L3 through L8?
So move.
Second? It's been moved and seconded. Would you please call the roll?
Commissioner KATZ?
Yes.
Commissioner LEHRER?
Aye.
President McCLAIN-HILL?
Aye.
Commissioner NEEMAN Brady?
Aye.
Vice President Ruiz?
Aye.
5 ayes, motion adopted.
Terrific. Then we have no management reports at this time. Are there any questions with respect to the filed item?
No.
We have item K, recommendation for approval of the minutes for December 13th. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
I'll second. Would you please call the roll?
Commissioner KATZ?
Aye.
Commissioner LEHRER?
Aye.
President McCLAIN-HILL?
Aye.
Commissioner NEEMAN Brady?
Aye.
Vice President Ruiz?
Aye.
5 ayes, motion adopted.
Terrific. Then we will move back to item L2.
And so on this particular item, I don't necessarily have an issue with it. However, anytime we single source a contract, especially for a company in New York, I just kind of wanted to get a little bit more of the rationale.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Morning.
George Rafael from Customer Service. We had been, through SCAPA, contracted with RKS. They had been, for at least the last 12 to 15 years, performing the annual California Municipal Utility Association surveys. And then also, as part of SCAPA, they provided customer research services through to their members. And we had been utilizing them for several years for our quarterly transactional surveys to really monitor how we're performing in our service centers, on the phone, with all our primary transactions. In addition, we utilize them for research panels where we have approximately 3,000 customers, where every other week or so we're posing questions as we're considering changes, new programs, just trying to continue to monitor and understand customer needs and how that complement our operational data. We were notified by SCAPA last year that they would be discontinuing that offering to their members, and it didn't give us enough time to go out and issue an RFP and do that without disrupting our services. And so with that, we are requesting the single source to be able to continue these services while we issue an RFP. And then be able to have a plan to transition it without disrupting the research panels, the studies, or the transactional surveys.
Why did SCAPA say they were discontinuing?
I think they've evaluated all their various services, and this was one they felt kind of wouldn't fit with their charter.
And I guess, so the $3 million covers what period of time?
It'll be for a maximum of 3 years, and we feel like this will give us a chance to be able to.
It's going to take 3 years to issue an RFP for these services?
Well,
And I guess I do have significant issues. I just didn't, but since it got called, what I'm looking at is not applicable. So the small business enterprise, disabled, minority, WBE, et cetera, not applicable is sort of annoying to me. The fact that it is New York-based for services that I'm certain could be procured in the local community, and your rationale is that they've been doing it, so they've got the expertise to do it, which is the kind of rationale that, sort of builds in legacy providers without any real ability for folks who may have significant expertise to be able to, compete or participate. So, and it's this kind of thing when we talk about, on the one hand, we talk about supplier diversity and procurement, et cetera, and we have all of these, things that we say, but then when I look at what we do, it doesn't really align. So, the idea that it would take anywhere close to 3 years to do this is something that's hard to. That said, there's a lot to fix here. Fixing it on the back of customer service isn't necessarily my goal, but I just want to say that there's a lot to fix here.
George, is this a 1+1+1 contract? Or is it just 3 years you'd have to terminate?
It's just 3 years.
So we'd terminate then if we.
Yes.
When we got the other.
So is there a way to do, because I get the fact that, we have a relationship with them, but again, I am about opening it up to other people because I do not believe that they're the only company that can do this.
Absolutely.
So is there a way to extend it for a year, during which time it gives you an opportunity to issue an RFP to see if there are any other companies that do it, or are you saying that we have to do the 3 years? Can we do the 1 year?
Our estimate to be able to get an RFP to the contract phase is about 18 months. So that's why, and then there'd be a transition period. We don't think it'll take the full 3 years. We just didn't want to keep coming back and saying, well, we're still working on it and so on. This would allow us, there is within the contract ability to terminate without cause at any point. So this would allow us to be able to issue the RFP, get that selected, get the contract established, and then do a transition phase. Our primary thing wasn't just because we know these folks, it's that there's ongoing activities that we didn't want to disrupt or have stop. Right now, we're going through a lot of changes, and that customer feedback loop is critical for us.
Right. And that's what I said, I'm not questioning the need for this, I'm just questioning the process. So is there a way to do a 2+1? So at the end of the two, we can
We can, so
just
I
3 years
agree,
is a
yeah.
big commitment.
Another way to do that. So what we could do is, we could report back quarterly on the process, on the progress of getting an RFP out and another firm hired, so you know where this stands. So, because our intention would not be, as Corey said, to keep it any longer than we need to, but allowing us the time to get the RFP out responses and transition over. We could report regularly so you understand that we're not just biding our time holding on to the contract, if that would
Or
help.
we could approve them having a 2+1 contract and to come back with that, or a different recommendation.
Yeah, since it's sole source, I don't know if there's any prohibition on changing. There was not a bid on the contract, so is there issue with changing the terms,
You
Julie?
can change the term.
We could offer different terms. 1
that
plus 1
sounds
plus
like-
1, to come back to the board each
I
year.
would be comfortable with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we come back to the board each time.
Can,
Yep.
I want to bring, this is perhaps not the time to talk about this for, but there are a lot of other contracts that DWP puts out that, whether it's through some of the proprietary agencies or others that actually are going out of state. And it is and I know Councilman Krikorian put forward a motion about local business support, and that it was mentioned also by our Mayor Bass during her during her inauguration. It's an issue. It is an issue, and it doesn't go, in terms of the services that some, design services that, for example, some of us provide, it doesn't go both ways. We don't get hired in Philadelphia, even in San Francisco. So just saying that I would appreciate an opportunity to perhaps discuss it more, to see what it is that we can do to sort of filter that. The information.
Maybe to avoid giving you a short answer, maybe Aaron can prepare something just to understand because there is a local preference, and even that's LA County, and we could kind of describe what the limits are legally and what has been done and
But
is thought
again,
to
I
be done.
just think that, enough. Because really, we're looking at an agreement that was issued in 2012 that we've been sort of working under since then. And it's gone away from the SCAPA perspective, and our response to that is just to scoop it up, bring it here, and keep it going. And what there isn't is any really coordinated and intentional move toward how we revamp, how we look at, how we prioritize on a contract-by-contract basis, diversity and local hiring. So we talk about it at the 500-foot level, but over and over and over and over and over, what comes to us is this kind of stuff. So it isn't penetrating to the point that we are actually changing how we practice. And because I think it's just considered too disruptive. That's kind of what the rationale for this is. It would be disruptive. We would have to actually stop, focus, and shift in order to not be in this position. And so instead, we'll just, issue it for 3 years. It's certainly going to be 3 years. It wasn't going to be a change. Nobody ever comes back and says, oh, we're done with that now here. We've accelerated the timeline to do something else. So, we either have to decide that we mean it and actually develop policies and practices that align with what we say we mean, or we just have to stop talking about it. And I think that a number of us actually mean it. So we're going to want to see something different. And, and that's independent of whether or not these various engagements are resulting in anything that's significantly moving the needle toward better customer service or, globally dealing with the challenges that we have in a number of these areas. So That's where I am on it.
So I'm going to ask the city attorney a question on this. So the terms of this particular contract is 3 years. And do I have the ability to make it a 1+1+1?
The board can choose to change the term of the contract, yes.
Yeah, they just don't have to agree, but, I mean, so we can change the term of what we approve, and then the contractor has to agree with that or not have a contract. That's how that works.
So I'd like to move approval of this item with the amendment of the 3 years is a 1+1+1.
Do we have to amend the item first? Is that how we do it, Parliament? Is
Yes.
it that we have to first vote on an amendment? So we want to amend the contract, and then we approve, then we move approval?
Yes, and you would amend the resolution.
Amend the resolution.
To,
Okay.
So I'd like to move that we amend the resolution to, on the terms of the contract for a 1+1+1.
So yes, what your motion is that we're amending the resolution associated with Agreement 47732.
yes, and I think to clarify the 1+1+1 is you will be specifying that this is a one-year contract that can be renewed for 2 additional years.
1 years, yes. Okay, does that reflect your intent?
Yes.
Then that will be the motion. I second. Would you please call the roll?
Commissioner KATZ?
Aye.
Commissioner Lehr? President McCLAIN-HILL?
Aye.
Commissioner NEEMAN Brady?
Aye.
Vice President Ruiz?
Aye.
5 ayes, motion adopted.
Okay, so now there's a second part to this?
Now you can move to approve the resolution as amended.
I move to approve the resolution on agreement number 47732 as amended.
Second?
You can call the roll.
Commissioner KATZ?
Aye.
Commissioner Lehr?
Aye.
President McCLAIN-HILL?
Aye.
Commissioner NEEMAN Brady?
Aye.
Vice President Ruiz?
Aye.
5 ayes, motion adopted.
Thank you,
All
thank
right.
you, George.
Thank you, sir. And that appears to close out our open session. So, Julie, you have the floor.
The board shall recess into closed session for a conference with legal counsel on the items listed on Section M of the agenda. The board shall publicly report any action taken in closed session and the vote or abstention of every member present thereon in accordance with Section 54957.1 of the California Government Code.
I think we'll stay in this room. It's much bigger than our conference room. So as soon as it is cleared, we can move into closed session.